All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are breaking down a really specific, really provocative framework for self-development. It comes from a source called The High Value Man, 11 Rules for Supremacy. And listen, this isn't your typical motivational fluff. We're talking about a set of hard-edged principles designed to completely reshape your impact on the world.
So right out of the gate, the source hits us with this central question. But it's not asking about how much money you have or what your job title is, not in the way you'd think. It's trying to define a man based on his presence, his internal control, and his unwavering standards. It's all about the kind of impact you have just by being you.
And this quote, wow, this gets right to the heart of the entire philosophy. The source argues that this has nothing to do with being the loudest guy in the room. Nope. It's about building an internal world that is so solid, so controlled, that your very presence can shift the energy around you. That's the goal. And we're about to explore the 11 rules it lays out to get there.
To even begin to get there, the source material says you have to start from the inside out. So the very first pillar of this whole framework is about building an unshakable internal world. A mental and emotional fortress that can handle any pressure thrown at it. So under this pillar, the source groups a few key rules, all focused on that internal mastery. We're going to break down 4 of them: the power of emotional control, why you need solitude, how to use distance strategically, and why you should absolutely refuse to negotiate with your own weakness. Let's kick it off with handling pressure. Now, what's so interesting here is how it frames rule number 7, stay stoic. According to the source, any emotional outburst, anger, panic, is just a leak of weakness. It argues that real power, or what it calls your frame, isn't about what you say. It's about the total absence of chaos inside you. A calm man's control is his dominance.
And this brings us right to rule number 9, sit with yourself. The framework is, frankly, pretty brutal on this. It basically says that men who are constantly looking for a distraction are just running from their own weaknesses. In contrast, it holds up solitude as the ultimate tool. It's how you sharpen your strategy, face hard truths, and build a real vision. The logic: if you can't survive alone, you can't handle power.
And this idea builds directly into rule number 4, which literally treats distance as a strategic weapon. The idea here is that your growth is being suffocated by noise. So the source advocates for a surgical removal of people and distractions that don't serve your ultimate purpose. Yeah, it's ruthless, but the goal is to make you sharper, more focused, and basically untouchable. You gotta love this line. This is how the source describes those really intelligent-sounding excuses we all make. That's the core of rule number 3. Oh, I'm just tired. I need a mental reset day. It calls all of that rationalization just weakness dressed up to look fancy. The point is to stop negotiating with your own laziness. Action doesn't need your permission. Okay, so once that inner fortress is secure, the framework shifts its focus. We're moving outward now. This second pillar is all about how you project that internal strength into the real world, how you interact with people, how you set boundaries, and how you manage your reputation. In this section, we'll explore the rules for projecting that strength. We're talking about everything from commanding a room and treating your name like it's a non-negotiable asset to the stark importance of consequences and a, let's say, very pragmatic view on loyalty. Let's jump to rule number 1, command your space. The source makes a really sharp distinction here. It argues that if you walk into a room and nobody even notices you're there, that's not humility, that's irrelevance. The goal is to have your posture, your eye contact, your calmness actually bend the environment to your presence, not the other way around. This slide just lays it out perfectly. This is rule number 5, enforce consequences. The logic is so simple. People will always test your limits. If you let them cross your boundaries without any consequence, you stop being a man and you become, well, in the source's very blunt terms, a mat. Respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you demand by consistently enforcing your own rules. So, what about loyalty? Well, rule number 8 tells you to stop expecting it so easily. The source draws this hard line between soldiers and spectators. Spectators, they'll cheer for you when things are good. Soldiers, they'll bleed with you in the trenches. It argues that true loyalty is only ever forged in fire, and any friendship built on convenience is ultimately fake.
So we've covered the internal and the external. This third and final pillar, this is the engine. This is what drives the whole thing forward.
It's all about the relentless, continuous process of self-improvement, of resilience, and of growth. This last set of rules is all about what fuels that engine, embracing discomfort as a tool for growth, understanding that your habits literally forge who you are, and making that crucial choice to face hardship now so you can avoid regret later.
Rule number 6 is as blunt as it gets. Be uncomfortable. The source argues that comfort isn't just neutral, it's a poison that is quietly murdering your potential. Every choice you make for ease and a quick dopamine hit, mindless scrolling, binge watching, avoiding the hard work, it's all seen as an act of self-sabotage. Struggle builds you, comfort breaks you.
And that leads us right to rule number 10. Your habits are your identity. Dreams and potential, they're meaningless. According to this framework, what defines you is what you do every single day. You don't just have habits, you design them like they're weapons, and you use consistency to literally forge your own identity.
And this is the powerful core of the final rule. Rule number 11, stop avoiding the hard thing. The source frames your whole life as a choice of which payment you want to make. You can pay with the pain of discipline and challenge right now, which it calls tuition for growth. Or you can avoid that pain and pay a much, much higher price down the road, the ambush of regret. So after all these rules, all these pillars, the source brings it all home with one single, non-negotiable point. It argues that knowing all of this is completely and utterly worthless without the final, most important step. It starts with a simple hierarchy. At the very bottom, according to the source, are the guys who simply talk about what they're going to do. One step up from that, you've got the men who make plans. They create the strategies, they set the goals, they get everything organized, but they might not ever actually pull the trigger. And this is the top of the mountain. The one defining characteristic that separates everyone else is execution. To burn comfort, to embrace the struggle, and to just act. Everything else is just noise. And so we end with this challenge, taken directly from the spirit of the source material itself. And it's not a gentle suggestion, it's a demand. After hearing this whole framework, after it asks you to pay for your own growth with pain, what's the first uncomfortable action, the first tuition payment you're willing to make?